All right, guys. It's just me today. Super Bowl Sunday. Uh, I was talking with Janelle, and we decided I'm just gonna make a short video, kind of going over my thoughts for the Super Bowl as a true Eagles fan. Um, and as a true Eagles fan, I can tell you the last 2 weeks have been miserable. Uh, Not that I don't want my team in the Super Bowl, but there's just so much added pressure. And then it's doubled because we're playing a team that we've previously lost to 3 years ago. And it's tripled because that team is the Chiefs. And being in St. Louis, we have a lot of new Chiefs fans. So it's very annoying. So I've been excited for this game, but there's like a sense of dread that's been following me around. But I'm excited for this game. Um, when I look at the two teams objectively, the Eagles have the better team. Before any Chiefs fans come into my mentions, like, look, the Chiefs have outstanding players. They have probably the best quarterback in football. I mean, Lamar and Allen both had better seasons this year, but Mahomes plays big in big moments. So obviously you've got the X factor of Mahomes, but I just think looking at the teams top to bottom, the Eagles have the better roster. That doesn't mean they're going to win. I've seen plenty of seasons where the better team, but the better built roster didn't win. It all comes down to execution. So obviously, the Chiefs know how to execute. They're going for the three-peat. Like we can't pretend like this is a fluke or something. They did not look as dominant this year as we've seen in previous years, but yet they are back in the Super Bowl for the third straight time. They had a lot of close calls, like a lot of close calls, but in the end, they ended up winning pretty much all of those games. Um, so they've been there, they've done that. They know how to win. I look at this Eagles team, there are a lot of guys that were here on the 2022 squad that lost. And I'm happy about that because they are going to go into this game remembering what that felt like, remembering having a 10-point lead, losing it, and not being able to close out the game. We can talk about that ticky-tack holding call, which, I will talk about it till the end of time. I think it was a weak call that you don't call in that moment. But the reality is they did. And that, led to the Eagles not getting the ball back until 30 seconds left or something like that. But this year, it's a new team, a younger defense, a high-flying offense, and then obviously the offensive player of the year, and in my opinion, should have been the MVP, Saquon Barkley, the X factor of all X factors. What he has done to this offense is insane. I loved Miles Sanders. I thought DeAndre Swift was great last year, but Saquon is such a tier above pretty much every other running back in the league except for Derrick Henry. But I would still take Saquon. Obviously, the Chiefs are well coached. They have an amazing defense, very stout defense. So they are going to be loading the box and trying to stop Barkley early, which, obviously. And they're going to put the ball in Hurts' hands and tell him, like, you have to beat us, which I'm okay with. Obviously, there has been a lot of talk this season about Hurts and his ability to win games passing the ball. He can win games passing the ball. Is he the best thrower of the football? No. And from time to time, he misses reads. But if you put the ball in his hands, I fully believe we can win this game. I've seen him do it before. But when you have a 2,000-yard rusher at Saquon Barkley, why would you tell Hurts, like, we need you to go out and win the game? Like, unless they are stopping the run or we need to score points in a hurry, yeah, let Saquon handle the tempo of the game. Um, so I look at this season, the Eagles got off to a slower start. It wasn't a bad start. Like the Ravens and the Bengals got off to bad starts. Obviously, the Ravens were able to turn it around and go on a run. The Eagles, they won a couple games, they lost a couple games. But the games they lost, it was like, those were games we could have won. The Falcons game for sure. If Saquon doesn't drop that pass and we get the first down, we win the game. Then we have some injuries and we lose a bad game to Tampa. And that one was a bad, like that one we just were not prepared. But after that moment, we went on a run. And I think we only lost one game the rest of the season. And that was to the Commanders when Hurts had the concussion and he went out. Still had a chance to win that game. The defense kind of collapsed in that one, but we made up for it in the NFC Championship game. Just put the whooping on the Commanders. So this team's been tested. This team has a lot of dudes that can go out and can win the game when needed. But I still look at, the Chiefs are battle tested. You look at the teams that they played to get here in the playoffs. They played the Bills, who personally I thought was one of the best built rosters in the league, but apparently the Bills just can't get over the Kansas City hump, which, gets us back to where we are now. I look at coaching. Andy Reid obviously is a great coach. Loved him in Philadelphia. I know Kansas City fans try to throw it in our face, like, "Oh, you let him go." Like we fired him after a 4-12 season and then going 8-8 the year before. Like it was time for us to go our separate ways. Wished him nothing but the best. Was genuinely happy when he finally won that first Super Bowl with Kansas City. I was happy for him, not really Kansas City. And then he's followed it up by continuing to win Super Bowls. What probably the second greatest coach of our era. I think the top spot still belongs to Bill Belichick. But then you look at Nick Sirianni, who, he's been in the hot seat for a little while now. Took us to the Super Bowl. Uh, we almost won, but we didn't. It is what it is. And then the next year, we came in with a lot of hype, and the season just did not go the way we want. Even when we were winning games, they were very close games. It just the offense, the defense looked stale. He got on the hot seat. People saying that this team is so young, we shouldn't risk keeping him and bringing a new coach right away. I was a believer in him, and I said we give him one more year. So we did, and we started off the season a little shaky. We left a lot of points on the board because we were going for it on fourth and short instead of kicking field goals. And to be fair, the year before we did the same thing, but we were successful like 85, 90% of the time. We got off to the start of the season, we were leaving 9, 10, 11, 12 points on the board every game, and the fans were not having it. And then he was on the hot seat again. And I was like, if we don't make a run, if we don't turn things around, yeah, he's going to be gone. I don't know what conversation they had around like week 4, but ever since then, he has been a completely different coach. He's been making a lot of really good decisions. He still will take risks, but the risks are not as risky. Um, and the team looks completely different. And then again, he was in the Super Bowl last time. I think he also is not going to take his foot off the gas. He's going to keep the guys focused. We got Jalen Hurts, Mr. Cool under pressure, Mr. My expression never changes, Mr. Look at me, I've got a bright chain, my mood never changes. Uh, I think, he's going to be a great leader on the field. He has been all season. I know a lot of people complain that he's not vocal enough. People are upset that he's not just, throwing for 300, 400 yards like his opponents. And to that I say, I look at every playoff game, and the quarterback that threw more yards, more passing yards than him is also in Cancun right now. Hurts is in the Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford, Cancun. Jaden Daniels, Cancun. Uh, what's his name for the Packers? Cancun. Like, congrats on throwing 350 yards. Go get me a margarita, right? So Hurts does what is necessary to win. He is a winner. He always has been. Since from high school to college to the NFL, he is a winner. Obviously, when we get to the NFL, being a winner is cool. Josh Allen is a winner. Lamar Jackson is a winner. Jalen Hurts is a winner. Being a winner is great. You want to get to that next level, you got to be a champion. We got close in 2022, and then we imploded in 2023, 2024. But we are back. I think we come out on top. I think my prediction, I guess I should have led with this. I think it's going to be a good game, but I think as long as the Eagles play focused, play to their abilities, play to their strengths, I think the Eagles take the lead going into the fourth, and then we get a home run by Barkley or a great pass from Hurts puts us up, and then the defense, which is considerably better, slows down Mahomes enough that eventually the clock runs out. So for me, I think it's going to be 35-27 Eagles. Um, Obviously, we'll see what happens. But I'm going into this game cautiously optimistic. Um, but I mean, you look at the players on both sides of the ball. Like you look at Jalen Carter, you look at Chris Jones, you look at Xavier Worthy, you look at all these guys that have proven to be game changers. You look at AJ Brown, Devonta Smith. You look at these guys and think these guys are guys that can change and impact games like in so many different ways. So, yes, obviously Mahomes and Barkley are the two main X factors for either team, but both teams have other guys that can step up and take over. Chiefs have DeAndre Hopkins, who honestly I completely forgot about because he was picked up mid-season and I try not to watch too many Chiefs games, but he's a guy that like even though he's older, you don't pay attention, like he'll crush you. So I think the team's got to go in and be focused. I honestly I hate the pre-Super Bowl week, the Pro Bowl week. I think it's distracting. You get all these different reporters from all over the globe descend on this one city, interviewing these players who are answering the same questions 32 different ways. And then you got these dumb questions, like they were asking different players about Krabby Patties and asking Travis about, Taylor Swift. And there's just, I get it. It's a machine. They got to pump out the content. But the week before the Super Bowl, the media week, I absolutely hate it. And I think, to be honest, that's where the Chiefs have another hidden advantage. And not like they're cheating, but because they've been here so many times, a lot of those guys are like they know how to mentally and emotionally handle media week. And while the Eagles do have a lot of guys who were previously here, they have a lot of young guys, a lot of rookies, a lot of guys that they brought in that have never been to a Super Bowl. This was new for them. So I just hope some of the veterans on the Eagles squad were able to really get everyone and get them focused and be like, look, none of this stuff really matters. To be honest, none of the interviews that you gave leading up to the Super Bowl are ever going to matter again. Like literally, the interviews that matter are the ones after the Super Bowl. Like honestly, I remember Cam Newton's post-game press conference after the Super Bowl when he lost more than I remember anything he said leading up to the Super Bowl. I remember the Eagles press conference after they lost a couple years, 3 years ago. Like it's just there's so much noise that it's time to really drown out the noise and focus and lock in. And I think if the Eagles are able to come out the gate focused, they could put up a double-digit lead before halftime. Now, the Eagles also have a habit of having long stretches where they don't even get into field goal range, and I think that's something that the Chiefs can exploit. Obviously, they've got coordinators that are smarter than me. They're already game planning for that, but having watched every single Eagles game, there were a lot of situations where we'd be up by a touchdown or 10 points, something like that, and we would go a whole quarter without getting the ball past the 50-yard line. So, you know, this there's a lot of things to look at in this game, a lot of smaller matchups to watch. But like I said, in the end, I'm taking the Eagles, obviously. I'm taking them by 8 points. In 12 hours, we'll see how I'm feeling. Like I'm confident we can win, but I think, there's that bit of nervousness because it's the biggest game of the year. It's the Super Bowl, and you're playing a team that's been there, done that. And then, obviously, I think I'd go away without talking about some of these calls that they've been getting. I don't think that necessarily I know everyone's mad. Like you think the whole referee association is I got this big scandal and they're all in on it. No, I don't think that. And then you get the guys that throw out the numbers that are like, well, the Chiefs actually get more penalties. Like, yes, sure. A 5 yard penalty for a false start on first or second down. Yes, Chiefs have more of those. We are talking about third down, Mahomes overthrows a guy or takes a sack, and the defense is like, awesome, we're coming off the field, and then a flag randomly comes in. It is not the amount of flags, it is the timing of the flags. It is the 15 yards closer to the field goal than, you previously were. We're not talking about the 5 yard false start penalties. Like, we're talking about game changing, needle moving penalties that the Chiefs get. And again, I am not saying that it is a conspiracy that the league is pushing the Chiefs forward, but if there is a 50-50 toss up, more often than not it's going in the Chiefs' favor. And that's just the reality. So how do you combat that? You play better football. Like you got to play better football because while the Chiefs do get those calls that seem to help them, they also just don't make the mistakes that a lot of teams make consistently. Like if this team, not the Chiefs, makes seven big mistakes, the Chiefs make three of those mistakes. Like you can point to a lot of that as to why the Chiefs are winning. And then obviously if they get that fourth or fifth mistake, that's when the refs come in and, but again, the Chiefs execute better than most teams. That is how they have gotten to three Super Bowls because they execute better. They understand what it takes to win. It's the small things. That's what Tom Brady was doing. I mean, not to go on a whole Tom Brady rant, but like Tom Brady was not the biggest, fastest guy. He didn't have the strongest arm. Tom Brady did the little things well. That team was very disciplined. The Chiefs are very similar to that, but I'm seeing some cracks. I think they can be exploited. I think Jalen Carter could be a game wrecker. I wish we had Nakobe Dean on the field, but that's all right. We got a lot of young dogs, a lot of guys from the University of Georgia, the Georgia Delphia Bulldogs. I think I think they're gonna really chase Mahomes around, and then a couple years ago when we were in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, they used that artificial turf and both teams struggled to get their footing, and the Eagles just could not overcome that. They could not figure it out, and they couldn't get pressure on the quarterback, and Mahomes ate him alive in the second half. Um, Hopefully this year, there's no field issues, and the team just locks in, does what they need to do to win the game. I think our pass rush is elite. I think we have the best O line in football by a mile. So again, I think Eagles win by 8 points. I think it's 35-27 is my prediction. That's where I'm at. It's going to be a long off season if we lose again to the same team, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Not even worried about it. Anyway, so that's pretty much all I got. I am going to go stare off into the abyss and prepare for Super Bowl Sunday, get that buffalo dip and wings, and just get ready to rock and roll. Appreciate you guys. We're going to get this uploaded and hopefully we can talk about it later with a smile and not tears. Thank you.